So before we jump into the topic like virtual network or Azure cloud or whatever the concepts is there in the cloud, now let us first understand the basic funda of cloud computing and how does it work. So this is the slide I'll be taking you through to explain the very basics, and I'll be taking some refreshment on the cloud computing concept. So cloud computing is nothing but, in simple words, it is the on-demand delivery of a service or a set of service via a platform over the internet. So basically, you have a user who is logging into the cloud services providers like AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, and he demands the services to the cloud, and the cloud does its magic and provides the services back to the user. Like this way, it's very simple. And the user consumes this service and then pays only for what he uses. Now, this is the basic concepts of cloud computing, whether it's an AWS, Azure or Google Cloud. But what does this mean? Now, let us take an example of a real life problem. Now, there are two approaches which I'll be explaining now. One is the traditional and another is the cloud computing approach. Now, let's say you are filing taxes and you want to do some complex tax calculation with numbers that you cannot, or rather do not want to do manually. So traditionally, what you will do, you will go to the market and buy a tax calculator or a tax calculator software right for this purpose. So you buy a tax calculator yourself, let's say for $50, and then use it for tax filing purpose and then file taxes. So this is the traditional approach. But there is another concept which is cloud computing approach. Now with cloud computing, you do not have to anyway buy this calculator. You just go to the internet, you access the cloud calculating service from the internet, from the cloud provider that is offered by any of the cloud provider for your purpose, and you use it for that duration only. And what you pay? You just pay for, let's say you are using for a couple of hours a day or just for the whole day, and let's say you pay $1 for your usage. Now the next year again, when there is a tax season, so you again access the same calculator service from the cloud. You procure that by paying pay as you go format and use it and pay through the same amount. Sometimes the price even reduces because many cloud providers provide some discounts. So this is the concept where you can solve the exact same problem with cloud computing approach in a more efficient and cost-effective way. So this is the traditional and cloud computing approach. From this particular slide, let us first analyze what are the advantages and disadvantages of both of these approaches. Now for the traditional approach, these are some advantages, like you are the sole owner of the calculator. You can make the choice which calculator you want to buy. You can choose and then you can buy. And you can use it whether you want or not, depending on the whatever the facilities you are having. Now there are many more disadvantages, like which I have just listed here. Like you use the calculator only for one day, right? For the rest of the year, the calculator is not even used. Now let's say next year the tax law changes. Now the same calculator which you have just purchased, this is having some set of softwares or set of processes to do some calculation. It becomes outdated. So this calculator is become invalid for you. You might have to pay extra for an upgrade, and next year you buy some newer version, let's say for more or less same price. So you are again paying double, and there is no way for trying the calculator for a day and see if it works before making the payment. And you have to keep in charge for this calculator secure. So there is no other security loss. No one is providing. You are the in charge of this particular thing. Let's say if the calculator software is damaged or encrypted or anything happens on this particular software, so nobody can use it. So this is the calculator. This is the traditional approach for the same example which I have just explained in the previous slide. Now coming to the cloud computing approach, these are some advantages. Like you use the cloud calculating software from the cloud provider only for the day, on the day when you needed that, and you paid only for the day you used it. So we paid, let's say $1 or $2 against $50. So this is a pretty much cost-effective way for using the service based on your need. Next year, if again the requirement comes for you to file taxes, you again pay just $1 or $1.50 for the operator service. And if you pay more also, still it is very low, because for throughout the year you are not using this particular software anything. Only for the tax season you are using it. So that the cloud computing approach or the cloud provider, it is giving a flexibility for you to use it whenever you need. Now you use if the calculator service is not available in your cloud region, so there is a concept of regions. So if it is not available in the same region, you can just switch to different region and the same service will be there. There is the magic of cloud providers. And you don't have to worry about the security of the calculator, because the security of the services is provided by the cloud provider. So all these things are being provided with only the amount which you are paying as a pay as you go service. And you can also monitor for whatever the software. It is a calculator I have given, but any software, whether you procure from the internet or you procure from the cloud provider, there is a monitoring always enabled. If you want to do, then you can use it, the monitoring enabling, and it will allow you to do a complete monitoring whatever the software is being used. So the resource usage monitoring, everything is done. So you can take a backup of the data, and also if the service goes down, it will not lose any data. So this is the kind of advantages of this cloud computing. So I have just listed it here. Hope it is understandable for you all. So in nuts and shell, these are some bullet points which you can remember for cloud computing. So less capital expenditure, pay per use, availability in minutes, no need to guess whatever it will be there in this particular software. You can do it, you can try it and again use it next time. Focus more on the application rather than maintaining the infrastructure. It is very useful for R&D. You can build your own tool, you can build your own wrapper on a specific software and you can use it for your own necessity and benefit of massive economics for sale. So if you are using more number of softwares for a particular duration, you can definitely achieve massive economics of scale, and it will be very much cost effective. It depends based on the cloud providers. So if the cloud provider AWS is giving much more cheaper option for more number of resources, so you can choose that. Like if you are procuring a VM, if you want a VM will be more memory and compute intensive. So based on that, whatever the cloud providers are giving the cheaper option, you can get into that. So that's a different approach. So that's all about the cloud computing. So these are some disadvantages over the traditional storage. So pay for you whatever you use. So data reduction technique and archiving to store old data, that is very rarely used. So backup and archiving solutions. Also like faster service and recovery, like site recovery techniques are there. Data protection techniques, and also migration and frequently and very much prompt migration techniques for all the cloud providers. So storage migration also there for 3 years. So based on that, you can use a storage plan. So coming back to the concept of Microsoft Azure, which is the agenda for today, and also our agenda is Azure Virtual Network. So let's start about understanding the concept of Azure Virtual Network. So hope you have worked till now in any of the cloud providers, at least AWS or Google Cloud or GCP, or AWS or GCP or Azure, any cloud providers. So both are having some concept of having some virtual network. So virtual networks are nothing but an isolation of the networks on the cloud. So the VNet service is meant for Azure. If you go in AWS, the same concept is known as VPC, that is a virtual private cloud. In Azure world, it is called VNet, there is a virtual net. So virtual network. This service enables all the resources to securely communicate with each other, and it's a logical isolation of the Azure cloud based on your subscription. So in Azure, it allows you to take more than one subscription based on the tenancy model. If it's a multi-tenant or single tenant, this particular subscription can be achieved based on your subscription, and you can connect your virtual networks to other virtual networks based on need. And Azure allows you virtual network peering so that you can connect between different virtual networks. So you can see here, there is an on-premise network and there is a virtual cloud. So between that, this particular virtual network connectivity has been established in this particular architecture. So there is a concept called address space in virtual network. So when you create a virtual network, you have to specify some address space. Address space are nothing but a CIDR block that this virtual network will be associated with this particular address space. So there are different kind of address spaces there. You can provide the address space based on your organization requirement, but there are some IP ranges are there. So these are some IP ranges which you cannot associate to the virtual network. So first one is 224.0.0/4. These are some CIDR ranges which is not applicable to be associated with the virtual networks in Azure due to several restrictions. So you can create a virtual network, and within the virtual network you can create subnet. Subnet is one more next association and isolation layer of a virtual network. So suppose you're creating a virtual network, so you can create more than one subnet within a virtual network, and you can create subnets and space them in the virtual network so that any resources can utilize those subnets. By default, every VM gets a default virtual network and default subnet. If you want to create more than one subnet, so the Azure provides a way to create this kind of infrastructure from the UI and also from the Cloud Shell. So these are the subnets. That subnets are created using CIDR, that is classless internet domain routing blocks technology, that is designed for virtual network. And the smallest range which you can specify for subnet is /29, which provides only 8 IP address. Suppose you are assigning a subnet of 10.1.0.0/29. So this CIDR block will allow you to associate from 10.1.0.0 to 10.1.0.7 up to this, which is nothing but 8 CIDR addresses. So this is the lowest range which you can assign to a subnet, that is /29. So that's all about virtual network address space. So these are some components of VNet, that is a virtual network. So you can create a site-to-site connection, you can create an express route, you can create a network security group, you can create gateways, virtual network gateway, load balancer, application gateway. So these are some different concepts of the virtual network in Azure world. Like local network gateway is kind of something when you are having on-premises network and you are having a router inside your network. So local network gateway will assign some IP address to your router so that with this public IP address, you can connect to the virtual network. So these are some concepts from the virtual network world, right? Traffic manager, which provides as a DNS load balancer in Azure world. Also express route. I will come on these things in my upcoming slide so that you can understand it better. Also network security group, which is always agenda for today. So these are some components from VNet. Like if you can see here, there is an on-premise site and there is an Azure Virtual Network. So there is a front end, there is a back end. So in the front end, there are IIS servers are there, the IIS servers, VMs which are deployed to IIS server. There are web apps are there. There are different gateways are there. All these things acts as a front end subnet, and there is a backend subnet where all the databases and backend servers are located. And from here, if you want to connect to the internet, you have to use some secret connection. So Azure provides site-to-site VPN, point-to-site VPN, and express route. These are the 3 ways you can connect your on-premise to the internet, and you can connect all the resources in Azure with using all these technologies. So there are some differences are there, which will come in my next slides. So these are some high-level architecture of the components in virtual network. Now coming back to this slide, so you can see here, this is a 3-layer architecture and subnet. So first is the web tier, where the browser request will come. Then there is a business tier where the application logic has been built, which is consuming the browser requests from the web tier, and then it is processing those requests through the business logic, and then it is passes the value, and it is passes all these API calls to the data tag where all these things are layered. And this is an on-premise network which is connected to a local network gateway. So if you can see here, so you also need to create a local network gateway, which is essentially a reflection of your VPN device. So in your on-premise network, there will be all your in your on-premise data center, there will be multiple VMs, and there will be a router or a software which will be required to connect to the virtual network or VPN gateway. So this is kind of a router, and it is actually needed to create a local network gateway which takes in the public IP address of your VPN device and the address space, which is essentially the number of address spaces you have in your on-premise network. And from this local network gateway, it will connect to Azure VPN gateway, that is the virtual network gateway. And with this particular connection, if it is transmitting over the internet, that will be site to site. If this is going to Azure backbone network, and then the data will be not exposed to the internet. So this kind of terminology and this kind of configuration is called express route. So this is kind of a 3-layer architecture where you will be able to establish the connectivity from your on-premise network to different architecture or different layers to the virtual cloud by using VPN gateway and gateway subnet. So we can see here, there is a jump box, the management subnet. So there is a concept of gateway subnet. So in the gateway subnet, all your resources will be placed, and gateway subnet is nothing but a type of subnet. Like in virtual network, there will be subnets. The same way, like in the virtual network, there will be gateway subnet, which will be recurred to, which will act as a placeholder of all your resources in the cloud. So every like resources in the cloud which is associated in the virtual network will be assigned a subnet, and in site-to-site VPN connection there will be recurred a gateway subnet. This is because the traffic gets encrypted before it's sent out to the particular network. That's why this concept has been implemented in Azure. So these are some terminologies when it comes to VNet. That is a point to site, that is a P to site. So the difference, I'll give you an example. Suppose you gone for a vacation and you are carrying your own laptop, and all your resources are hosted in Azure cloud. So you are not working from your company premises, from your on-premise data center. So you cannot connect to this particular network through your company data center. Now, let's say you already have successfully set the site-to-site connection between our organization's on-premise center to Azure. But when you gone to some vacation, then how do you connect to this particular Azure network? What is the way? So here comes the necessity of point-to-site connection, which is really great for any remote workers that needs to connect into your Azure VNet securely over the public internet. So this is called point to site. When you are working remotely and you want to connect to Azure cloud, then you can establish a virtual network connectivity between a single PC and with the Azure cloud using point to site VPN connection. Then what is site to site? As I was explaining, like it established between your VPN device and Azure VPN gateway. So your VPN device is located in your on-premise gateway, and from your on-premise gateway there is a router. With this router, there is a local gateway, and this local gateway will establish the connectivity with Azure VPN gateway using IPsec protocol. So what is the terminology? So this is called IPsec protocol. This is kind of a protocol which allows encrypted connection over the internet. So your data is exposed over the internet. So that's why there is a protocol which is followed, that when the data will leave from your on-premises, it will be encrypted and it will flow over the internet, and when it will reach to the virtual network, it will be decrypted. So this is the technology is used Azure for site to site, so that your data gets secure. And the latency is unpredictable because your data is flowing over the internet, so there will be always a latency, which is resolved with the concept of express route. So here comes express route. This is also established between your on-premise and Azure, but data is not exposed over the internet. But this is created by creating an express route peering, like a private peering between your local network and within virtual network. so that the connection becomes private and traffic does not traverse over the internet in case of express route. So these are the three architecture of connecting your on-premises to your Azure cloud using encrypted tunnel, using private peering, or using your single network or single computer with your Azure cloud. So that this is all about briefly about these three terminologies. Now coming to this VPN gateway. So VPN gateway is a resource that provides a VPN appliance for the VNet, and it routes traffic from on-premise to the virtual network. So that is the Azure part. So this VPN gateway resides in the Azure cloud. So there is a local network gateway. This resides in your on-premises part. So these two communicates using IPsec protocol, which I was explaining in the previous slide. So I was mentioning like IPsec protocol. So VPN gateway and local gateway. So these are having public facing IP address. With this, these two components interact with each other to make a connection between on-premise with Azure cloud. And this connection has the properties that specify the connection type. So if it is a site-to-site, it will use IPsec protocol, and there is an encryption. So the key shared with the on-premises VPN appliance, it will be always required to encrypt traffic. And there is a gateway subnet. So gateway subnet is a part of the subnet of the virtual network gateway. So this virtual network gateway is having its own subnet, which actually is used to it works as a placeholder for all the resources in the virtual network with which you want to establish a connectivity from on-premise to the virtual cloud. So that's all about VPN gateway. So it is a small diagram which will help you to understand this concept. So let's say you have a bunch of service and you want to like it is an on-premises, it is an Azure cloud. So let's say you have a bunch of servers on-premises and you want some of these machines to connect to the Azure services. So this is an example of site-to-site where you have one site connecting to another site. So that's why it is called site-to-site. So this is your on-premise site, this is your Azure site, and you are creating an encrypted connection over the internet using site-to-site connection. So that's where the Azure VPN gateway comes into picture. This is an high-level architecture which I've explained. So suppose you are having a company network and this is a routing device and this is an internet. In a secure tunnel, you are trying to reach to your resources over the cloud. You are having Windows Server. So you are having a virtual device which is having a private IP address and it is associated with a network interface. And here is your gateway subnet. So this is required for the virtual network gateway, and from this location to this location you are connecting through a site-to-site connection over the internet. So virtual network gateway, this will launch the VMs in the gateway subnet, and then these VMs will provide the required routing services. So your routing device will be having associated with the local network gateway with the public IP address, and same for the virtual network gateway, which will also have a public facing IP address. It can work on active or active standby. So these are some terminologies for load balancing. So if one gateway subnet or if one VPN gateway goes down, another will take its place in the active or active passive mode. So that's all about site-to-site VPN connection and managing your on-premises data center to cloud, and how to make a connectivity to the Azure cloud using site-to-site connection. So these are some NVA, that is a virtual appliance. So it is a virtual software that performs this particular function, and it used as a router from your on-premise to the Azure cloud. So it actually used to filter traffic between the virtual networks. So this is called, in Azure world, it is called NVA, that is a network virtual appliance. So outside of VNet, yes, these are the components. That is a VPN appliance, that is a network virtual appliance, and on-premises network. So obviously your on-premises network is the outside world from where you want to access all the resources within the virtual cloud. So that's why these are the components outside of your VNet. So that's about VNet and all the components. Now coming to the network security group. So, which is the last topic for today. So, network security group is nothing but maintaining multiple inbound and outbound security rules. You can use these network security group rules to enable filtering for source and destination IP address. Like if you want to allow any inbound address, or if you deny any outbound or inbound address, with using network security groups, you can use that, and you can also apply these network security group rules to different network interfaces or Azure resources. So what are these? These are actually some rules, like NSGs are some kind of rules that control inbound and outbound access to your subnet and VMs and multiple resources. So you can create a rule and you can associate to your virtual machine, and this you can create a deny rule, or you can create an approval rule. Based on that, the connectivity between your virtual resource and from any outer resource will be managed. Suppose you want to create an RDP connection, you can create a rule so that it will allow that RDP connection to your virtual network. So it is having different kind of priorities. If the priority is low, it will be highest. If the priority is high, it will be lowest. So there are some default rules as well, which I'll show from the Azure portal. So NSG having a specific construct, it is having some name, location, and resource group name. And this is the syntax for creating a network security group using PowerShell command. So you can try with your own. You can use this particular CMDLET, and you can execute this particular command, which will create a resource group, that network security group, in a specific location. So you have to remember, these are the something which you have to remember while creating a rule. So network security group is having some inbound and outbound rules. So you have to create a name, a direction, a source and destination IP range. Like if I can just try to show you now. So this is the Azure portal. So hope my screen is visible to all. Hello. Yeah. So
Shubhadeep, your screen wasn't
hope my screen is visible, right?
No, your screen isn't visible actually.
Okay.
It has gone blank suddenly. Audience, please give us some time. Yeah, we have figured out that it's not visible. Just give us some time, please.
Yeah. So you are able to see my screen now? Yeah,
yes,
I believe it is visible now.
Yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah, correct. So I was explaining this NSG rule construct. So NSG rule is having a specific format, like it is having some name, direction, access, source and destination IP range, which you can use for defining the rules for your virtual resources. So if you are giving a name, and you can select an inbound and outbound priority. So if the priority is lower, it will be highest, and a default priority will also be set when you create an NSG rule. And you can use this particular NSG for different kind of protocol like TCP, UDP, or both. So based on a particular source and destination, your rules will be applied.
Shubhadeep, I think there's some internet issue because your screen is going on and off.
So next is the default rules.
Hello?
So NSG is having a default rules. So when you create a network security rule, and when you create for a resources, it is having some default rules, and default rules are always having lowest priority. And if you write and rules with higher priority, then these default rules will be overridden, because whatever the default rules you are creating, that will be always having lowest priority. And when you create a new rule, if you give, suppose your default rule is having priority of 400 and you are creating a rule with 300. So that 300 rule which you have created, that will always be getting priority and it will override the rules which is having a priority of 400. So this is the concept of default rules and how can you override your default rules. So these are kind of snapshot has been taken from Azure document. So these are kind of default rules. So for virtual network, it is inbound and outbound, deny all outbound, all these things are default rules specified by Azure. So you can follow the same while creating these network security groups. And NSG can be applied or associated to a subnet to an individual VM, or you can apply your associated NSG to your network interface card. So NIC is when you create a VM, it will always have a network interface card which will be having all the details of this VNet. So if this virtual network wants to create a connectivity with another virtual machine, it has to have through NIC. So you can apply this rule to a VM or a NIC or a subnet. The difference is that if you make this to VM, then all the resources of this VM will use this particular rule. With respect to that, if you mention this to a subnet, then all the resources which are there with that subnet, this will have all this rule associated with it. So the segregation depends based on your requirement and based on your organization requirement, and based on that you can apply this NSG rule which will be beneficial for your organization. So that's all I have for today. So I am done with my presentation.